Eric Muathe with Muathe.com. Without looking at price, let's take a look at the RSI to see whether we can understand some of the major turn points for Adidas. And again, without looking at price, let's take a look at this bounce with uniform activity around RSI 50. And of course, this is all data monthly. We can also see that it comes back, tries to move below RSI 50 and holds above it for that support level. There is also a trend line that seems to be holding at that time. We can draw it like that. We can see a break of that trend line here in 2014 before this drop. Now we extend that same line, and the same line becomes a buy. Once we move back above that break line, take a look at what happens to the stock. Again, keep in mind the only thing we are looking at here is RSI, not even price, but it seems to be packed with a lot of information. Let's take all that off. Let me show you another view. This was the breakout line here. That breakout corresponds with this price breakout, this entry here after the breakout. And of course, we see that the stock went on a nice run, 2012, 2013. We take this line here, extend it. It's always good to extend your lines, and we can see here uniform activity below the line, back above it, uniform activity below the line, back above it for the lows here. Subsequently, after holding this back test area here during this period, we have a recovery. So one more time, the same line that was a buy in 2012 becomes backtest support here and here for these lows. Once it holds, you can see what happened. And something else also we can see from this price action is this is where the RSI actually broke down. This is the actual breakdown in early 2014 there. And we draw a line from there. And take a look at what happens once this was a break that brought the stock lower. Ultimately, we come back and move back above that line at the beginning of 2016, excuse me, here. And what's interesting is we are coming back in the last 2 months and we are showing support on this line. So clearly the stock seems to have a memory that is where it does begin moving higher. And actually we can actually summarize this way, that the stock has had a good run during this period here, and that's the period where it's been trading above the blue line on the RSI, which corresponds with prices moving from here to even where they've gone as high, and also coming back to bounce on that blue line, which is this period over the last 2 months or so. So even though most traders are spending a lot of their time looking at price, there's a lot of information packed with the RSI. And as a general observation, also take a look at this other observation. Simple here, when the stock is trading above RSI 50 on the monthly, you tend to have positive bias. When the stock trades below 50, you tend to have this bearish bias. And we can see positive bias here ever since it moved back above RSI 50. Also, we shouldn't underestimate the power of what happens when a stock trades above 69.1. As you can see here, this is the period where we get an acceleration in price action. Every time we move and stay above 69.1, there's an acceleration in price action. And even here during this period is where we get this acceleration in price action. It's important to understand that. One final observation, if you draw a line on this chart somewhere around there, this line so happens to represent the level around 38.2 on the RSI. Take a look at the action, how the stock responded to that level, which is a sentiment reading. Uniform activity below that line, back above it. Uniform activity below that level, back above it. Once it moves back and holds back above 38.2, which is during this period here, stock never looks back. So we can see clearly that there's something about that level. And again, that level just so happens to be at about 38.2. So even though 38.2 and the Fibonacci numbers are used for price, I encourage you to consider them also as far as the RSI, which for me is a measure of sentiment. And the more you understand and account for sentiment, the more you have a chance of understanding what is going on in a stock, and maybe can just help you set your stuff up for some better timing of some of these trading instruments. Eric Muathe with Muathe.com. As always, good luck, peace, and blessings. E-A-C-S. Woo!